Hi everyone, my name is William Lin. Here's a demo on native app with Streamlit UI. Native app supports Streamlit UI. It can provide a nice front end for consumer to use. This native app uses shared and protected provider data with a secure view. Here are lists of main app files. readme.md is readme file when we deploy to consumer side and what the consumer will see. Manifest.yml is a config file used when we deploy the app on the consumer side. In here we can see it's pointing to the setup script SQL, which will run when we deploy the app. With the manifest.yml pointing to the setup script SQL. In here, it creates a Streamlit pointing to the Streamlit folder, and the main file is main.py. Main.py contains Streamlit Python code. You can see in here is trying to pull provider data for a secure view. Environment.yml is a config file. You can put in dependencies, just like requirements.txt. To get the provider data ready, we have a GitHub main workflow that will run all the bash script files and SQL files under deployment folder alphabetically. These actions lay out the data structure on the provider side and creating all the needed resources on the provider side. Workflow main.yml file. On the GitHub, it watches 3 branches, the dev, QA, and main. Any file changes under deployment folder will trigger this workflow. The deploy dev listening on the dev branch. It will pull all the environment variables from the dev to connect to the Snowflake. Let me show you the GitHub settings with the environments. So if you go to GitHub settings, you see all the environments listed. I have a dev which bound to the dev branch. It has 1 secret and 5 variables. Going back to the workflow main YAML in the deploy step, it will look in this deployment dev folder, go through all the SH and SQL files one by one alphabetically and run them using bash and SnowSQL. Let's look at each one of them. In it, we'll create a database and the schema for on the provider side and create table. You can see the JSON file for this table. The stage, the file format, pulling the movie data in. Next is native app deploy. The GitHub workflow file is native app deploy YAML. If any file changes inside app's native app package, it will trigger this workflow. First, it make the Snowflake connection and then run the sh file to deploy the native app. Here's the native app sh file. It will deploy the native app package using snow app deploy. Snow app deploy will deploy native app package. The native app package name is inside the snowflake.yml. The snowflake.yml file is used by the Snow CLI. If you're not using the Snow CLI to deploy native app, you don't need this file. So the name is the identifier. Manifest. This YAML file is the configuration setting on how to set up native app on the consumer side. So in here, it points to a setup script SQL file. This is the file to execute when we deploy the app on the consumer side. The consumer readme file, the default Streamlit pointing to the Streamlit created in the setup script. In the setup script, the Streamlit is using the files under Streamlit folder, the environment YAML, which pointing to the dependencies, and the main.py, which is the Streamlit Python code. After deploying native app package, we create a secure view used by this native app. This is the SQL file to create a secure view. This view is connecting to the provider database. This needs a reference usage because using a table from a different database. And we're granting this view to the native app package. Going back to the .sh file, after we're creating the secure views, this line here is creating a version 101. The good thing is it will create new patch every time this gets run. Inside this sh file, we also have the snow app run. It's create a local native app from the app package using the latest batch, which created from the line 10. If we go back to the snowflake.yml, this is the app. It's creating from this package, and this will be the local app name. As I indicated here, snow app deploy. We'll use snowflake.yml for deployment. It's not needed if you're not using Snow CLI. It will create a stage automatically, defined it in the Snowflake YAML stage. This process will perform a diff on file changes on the stage to determine if redeploy is needed. Consumer need to go to Snowsight, data products, apps, and you should be able to see the deploy the app there. You can see the Streamlit UI. Publish. Once native app is tested locally, ready for the public or consumer accounts, we do publish. What we need is set the right version for consumer to use. Here's the workflow for native app release. This does not trigger automatically. It allows manual trigger from the GitHub Actions tab. Here are the steps: connecting to the Snowflake and then run a SQL file here. Release latest patch SQL file. In this SQL file, it will pull the latest patch from this version 101. Once it has the latest patch and use that patch number to set the default release directive. Once this is set, the install the consumer app will get upgraded. For consumer to use, we do need to publish it. Go to Snowsight, Data Product, Provider Studio, and create listing. From there, we can select internal marketplace or select the consumer account.